Be'ezras Hashem. Today's daf is Masechta Sotah Daf Chof Hey, and we will begin the daf today at 3 lines from the top. Ibay lahu. The Gemara's question is, Ibay lahu. The yeshiva boys asked the question. Iveres al das. If a woman is transgresses the moral law of being a Jewish woman, Jewish wife. So Rashi explains that means she's flirtatious. She's not snua. She goes out without shaitel, and she dresses not sneastic, does things in the street that are not appropriate, and she speaks with everybody. She's conversational even with strangers. So the Gemara the Gemara says in Masechta Kesubos, if a person has such a wife, he could give her a divorce and she goes out without a ksuba. Okay, that's what the Gemara says. So the question is, does that woman need a warning? In other words, does that woman, if you want to divorce her, you're giving a warning that you're going to lose your ksuba. Iveres al das. If a woman violates the moral conduct of a Jewish wife by being flirtatious with strange men, so the Gemara says she loses her ksuba. The question is, tzricha hasra lahavsida. Does the man have to give her a warning so that she loses her ksuba, or ain't it tzricha, or he doesn't have to give her a warning? Now the question is like this. The question is that a woman who is flirtatious, hi Lewis, we just began 3 lines from the top of Chafei Amar Aleph. The woman who's flirtatious, is it an indication that she's an affair with somebody and she's usher to her husband? So Mamela, if she loses a ksuba, you don't have to warn her. Or maybe she's on her way. If she is acting with such conduct, so then she's on her way to one thing will lead that she may have an affair with somebody. The Gemara says like this: Mi amrinim. Do we say, given the iveres al das, since she transgressed the moral conduct of being a Jewish woman, of being a Jewish wife, loy bayasra, you don't have to warn her. If she's this way and everybody sees that she's flirtatious, the husband can give her a warning and it doesn't give her a get and doesn't have to pay the ksuba. Dilmor, maybe not so. The boya hasra. He has to give her one-time hasra, a warning, a one-time warning. And telling his wife, his husband will tell her, look, a Jewish woman doesn't behave this way. And if she violates that, only then does she loses the ksuba. Why? Why do we have to wait till he gives her a warning? Because maybe the ihadrabe, maybe she'll have regrets of what she's doing. The ihadrabe will give her a chance to have this kind of regret, so that she doesn't lose her ksuba. So the question is that Chazal said that a woman who behaves immodestly, that she loses her ksuba. Does she lose her ksuba without any warning? That the husband decides to divorce her, she loses her ksuba, or perhaps the husband has to warn her, and then if she violates his warning, only then does she lose her ksuba. So the Gemara says, Tashma, come in here. In our Mishnah it says, Arusa, if a man is just engaged to a woman, or Shemeres Yavim, or he's not married to a woman, but she's waiting for him to do Yibam to her. Okay, it's his brother's wife, the brother died, and she's waiting for him to do Yibam to her. And what he does is he sees that she's a flirtatious woman, so he warns her, I don't want you to seclude yourself with some man. That's called kinui. And then what happens? Shtira. She went into a seclusion with that man, with a man. Now, they're not married to each other. He's only engaged to her. He's only in Arusa. What does the Mishnah say? Our Mishnah said in our Mishnah, there's no Sotah waters. You can't take her to the base of Midrash to drink Sotah waters. Loy Shaisa, she doesn't drink. And if he wants to divorce her because he can't decide, maybe she had an affair with the guy she's secluded with or not. So because she can't drink, she doesn't get a ksuba. In other words, he divorces her and she doesn't get a ksuba. But this only occurs, now this Sotah lady, this Arusa Sotah, is the most promiscuous woman because she's actually secluding with a man. And yet she will not take the ksuba only because the husband did kinui, which is a warning and then she's secluded. Only then she loses the ksuba. So mishta hu de shasi, she doesn't drink the saita waters, but ha kanuya mekanala. But you have to give her a warning in order for her to forfeit her ksuba. Why would you have to warn her? Because if she's not going to drink the waters, what's the whole point of warning her and doing that? Lav si de ksubasa. Maybe it's to cause her to forfeit her ksuba. In addition to him being usher to her, and now he has to give her a divorce because he can't give her to drink saita waters, because the saita waters was only given if you're married. If you're just engaged to the woman, saita waters are not going to work. And the Mishnah says that causes her to forfeit a ksuba. So we see to forfeit the ksuba for a promiscuous woman is only after she was warned by her husband. So isn't that a proof to your answer to your question? Amar Abaya says, the whole point that you're warning her is that now she's prohibited to him. You warn her, she is now goes secludes with a person. She had stira with a person. Now, because he warned her, she remains now usher to him, and therefore he's going to divorce her. But in case that he didn't warn her, she could still lose her ksuba anyway. She won't be usher to him if he decides to stay. But if he wants to get rid of her, she would lose her ksuba. So Rabbi says you have no proof for a woman to forfeit her ksuba. She will need a warning. Rav Papa says the whole point that you're warning her as an arusa. Obviously, it's not to give her saita waters, and it's not for her to lose her ksuba. She lost the ksuba even if he didn't want her. So what's the whole point of going through this exercise of giving a warning to your arusa, the woman that you're not yet married to, because you could, with the warning that you did when she was an arusa, engaged her, if you subsequently marry her and go to chuppah with her, and then she secludes with somebody, then that warning that you did when she was in Rusa is a valid warning. She secluded with somebody, she could drink the waters then. In the Tanya, we learned in a brisa, Ein mekanen la arusa, la shkoisa urusa. We don't warn an arusa not to seclude herself with a man for the purpose of giving her saita waters when she still remains an arusa. Aval mekanen la arusa, a husband could give a warning to his arusa wife, his engaged wife, lahashkoisa kishihi nesua, to only when they will subsequently get married afterwards. If they get married, then he'll be able to feed her the saita waters. So what the Gemara did not conclusively prove either way. So we're still back to the question. The question of the Gemara is, the Gebraisa says in Masechta Ksubis, that if a person has a promiscuous wife, he could divorce her and not pay the ksuba. The question is, this promiscuous wife that you divorce her and not pay the ksuba, do you need to warn her first not to be promiscuous? Or you can just stand up, divorce her, and not pay the ksuba? Amar Rava. So Rava says, let's bring a raya from a Mishnah. Toshma, we learned in a Braisa, in our Mishnah. If Amana l'kohen gadol, Amana is married to a kohen gadol, that's an invalid marriage. Kohen gadol cannot marry a widow. And grusha v'chalutza l'kohen hedyet, or a divorcee, or someone who had a chalitza performed, if they were married to a kohen hedyet, that's also an invalid marriage. The marriage, they remain married, but they're living in sin. Or mamzeres and nesina liyisrael. A mamzeres or nesina married to a regular Jew is also an invalid marriage, but they still remain marriage. Or the opposite. Bas Yisrael lemamzer v'nosin. Or the husband is a mamzer and the wife is a Bas Yisrael. All these cases, our Mishnah said, although it's an invalid marriage, so really they're living in sin, but they're husband and wife. And if the husband, let's say the kohen gadol, made a kinui on his wife, and he warned his wife, and his wife went stira, would they drink the saita waters? So the Mishnah says, loy shoises, they will not drink saita waters, loy noitless ksuba, and if he divorces her, he doesn't have to give her a ksuba. Now, there's no saita waters because what do we want them to go back to? We don't want them to even stay married. That's the point, that you don't drink. But the point then why warn her? Then what's the whole point what is the whole point of him warning her if they're not going to drink the saita waters? In order for him not to pay the ksuba, he has to warn her first. So that's the proof. Mishtahu de loishasya. You don't drink the saita waters. But ha kenuya mekanela. You have to warn her. You have to warn her. The Kohen Gadol has to warn his almana. So Lamai, why does he have to warn her? If the whole point of warning her is that if she secludes herself with a man, she now becomes usher to him, the Kohen Gadol, ha'asira v'kaima. She was already usher to marry the Kohen Gadol way before. So this marriage is a sin marriage. So she was not supposed to be with him in the first place. So what's the whole point? The Mishnah says that a man who's a Kohen Gadol will warn his almana not to be promiscuous. In order for her to lose a ksuba, in order for her to lose the ksuba, he can't just divorce her and say, I'm not paying you ksuba. He had to have warned her, and she violated the warning and secluded herself with a man. So we see that for a promiscuous woman, you have to give her a chance. You have to warn her. You have to warn her in order for her to lose the ksuba. So isn't that a good proof? Rav Yehuda midiskarta loy, not so. The whole point of warning this almana or this illegal marriage is that now she cannot marry the boil, the person she's accused of having an affair with, just like she can't remain with her own husband. It's now we learn to the Mishnah, Shem Shasur Labal, just like a woman who's a Saita woman, right? Cannot remain with her husband, right? As long as she didn't drink the waters, she's usher to her husband. She's usher that if the husband will die, she can never go ahead and marry the person she's accused of having an affair with. So really, I will tell you that for ksuba, she lost her ksuba. Why? She's a promiscuous woman. Promiscuous women lose the ksuba without any warning. Why? What's the benefit of having a warning in this case of almana to Kohen Gadol, or the grusha to the Kohen Hedyot, that should their husbands die, the Kohen Hedyot, the Kohen Gadol, this woman will now become usher because she was warned. She's now usher to marry the boil, the person she's accused of having an affair with. Now the Gemara continues. Amar Rabbi Chanina Mesura. Rabbi Chanina Mesura says, Tashema. I'll prove it to you from our Mishnah. Very simple, straightforward proof. The Elu Shebezdim Mekana. If a woman's promiscuous, she's like a woman who's going to be having an affair. The court will step in if the husband does not have the sanity to do it himself. For example, if a husband went deaf and became a deaf mute, or became insane, or if he was in jail, so the husband is not there to watch her. So therefore, Bezdin will step in and say to the woman, listen, we as Bezdin are going to act and warn you, don't seclude yourself with that man. It's not that Bezdin is saying that if she would seclude with that man, she will drink the Saita waters. Because really the only one that's capable of warning is a husband. And the court cannot do it on behalf of the husband. The whole point of Bezdin is so that if she does seclude herself with that man, she will forfeit her ksuba. So it's only because Bezdin warned her, don't be such a person that secludes herself privately with a man. Shmamina, boya hasra, shmamina. From here we see that a promiscuous woman, in order for her to lose that ksuba, she has to be warned first, and then she will lose the ksuba. So that seems like a very clear proof from our Mishnah that a woman needs a warning first if she's promiscuous. So that she needs a warning first, and then only if she violates the warning, then she loses a ksuba. And that seems like a clear proof from the Mishnah. All these, all these tashmas that we had before, why didn't they bring a proof from this part of the Mishnah? It seems straightforward. At the end of the Mishnah, it seems this is a very clear proof. So the Gemara says that proof is not such a clear proof, because Dil Mashana Hasim, I will tell you like this. Only that woman needs a warning to lose her ksuba. Why? The leisla aims to the Baal cloud, because that woman really doesn't have a husband. So you can't really blame her. Her husband's insane, or her husband's in jail. So you can't blame her for being promiscuous. So in order for her to lose the ksuba, Bezdin will first warn her, and then if she secludes herself as a married woman with somebody else, then she'll lose a ksuba. Because we are understanding of why she's entering such situations. But a woman who has her own husband, and he's around, and she's still promiscuous, so we will say that she's such a mechutzefes that will say that even without a warning, if she's promiscuous, she will lose her ksuba. That's what I will say. But the end of the story is that the Gemara concludes that a woman, for her to lose a ksuba because she's promiscuous, she will need a warning. Says the Gemara. Ibaylu, I have another question. Iveris aldas v'rotzabal lekaima. Okay, a woman who's promiscuous, right? And she's not sneistic. Or she could perhaps be a woman that's, not frum, let's say, and she's sleeping with her husband, and she's a nida. So she's causing her husband to violate Isser Daraisa. But nevertheless, it's suggested that he gives her a get and she loses a ksuba. But let's say this guy, V'rotza Balakaima, if he wants to keep her, he says, I like her. Mekaima or Eina Mekaima? Is he allowed to keep her or not? So in other words, since Chazal said you should divorce her, maybe we force him to divorce. It really has to do with the kapeda, means he doesn't want it. In other words, he has to be makbid that he doesn't want it. And he's not so concerned about it. He's okay with it. He's okay with a wife like that. Dilma cave in the carpet. Since most people wouldn't want to have such a wife, and that's Chazal said you should get rid of such a wife, we will force this guy to get rid of this wife who's Iveris Aldas, who's not sneistic or worse yet, not frum. Hashma, come in here. The Elu shebezdin makana lehem. The following Bezdin warns them. If a man is insane or he is in jail, and if his wife is fooling around, Bezdin will step in and warn her. The if you would say that there's a possibility that a husband can keep such a wife, of the Bezdin needed the dilma loy nichalei lebal, will Bezdin step in to a husband and wife situation where the husband is incapacitated, and say to wife, oh, we're warning you. Maybe he's okay with a wife who's promiscuous, and maybe it doesn't bother him. So why would Bezdin step into such a case? It must be proof that because we will not allow a Jewish man, a frum Jewish guy, to remain married to such a promiscuous woman. Isn't that a good proof? And says the Gemara, no. Stama de Milsa, most of the time, even the Veras Aldas, since she transgresses the moral code of a frum lady, the husband, if he was sane, he would want, or if he was out of jail, he would be okay with Bezdin giving her the warning. But truth be told, we don't know. Maybe Chazal, when they said you should get rid of such a woman, they gave you the option, or it was a suggestion, but not that you have to get rid of such a woman. The Gemara says a new question. Let's ask a question. Remember, there's a two-step process before you drink the Sotah waters. First, you get the warning. That's called kinui. And the second thing is you have to go into seclusion with the woman, with the man, right? So a husband, shemochal kinui, he takes back his warning. So is kinui a mochal or eina mochal? Do you say that he could take back the warning or not? So if she secludes with a man afterwards, let's say, and he says, no, I take back my warning, so you would not give her the Sotah waters. So what's the question? The whole point is as soon as he utters a warning, that makes it an effective warning, and you can't take it back. Or you could take it back, since it's the husband has to do the warning in order for you to drink the Sotah waters. But the husband in this case, he wants to take it back. He's moichel, he forgive the whole warning. He says, I don't care. Since he warned her, once you warn her, it's like saying a neder from your mouth. You warned her. So loy motzi machale, you can't forgive her. And therefore, if she secludes herself with the man, she becomes usher until she drinks Sotah waters. So what's the din? Tashema, come in here. Again, if he could take back the warning and she just secluded with a guy, you don't know if they sinned. Therefore, she's not usher to her husband. It's only because you combine a warning with a seclusion with the man, the Torah says, oh, we consider it as this, it's a done deal that she had the affair with the guy until she drinks to Sotah waters to prove her innocence. So Tashma, come in here. The Elu shebezdin makana lehen. Let's see, there are people that Bezdin warn. If the husband was incapacitated and he was in jail or he's insane, the Bezdin will do the warning. The Amit, if you say Baal Shemochal Kinuya Kinuya Mochal, that a husband could take back the Kinui, Avdina Midi Dasi Baal Mochali, will Bezdin step in and warn a lady? Maybe the husband would take back the warning. So why would Bezdin do something that the husband has the potential to undo? And says the Gemara, Stama Demilsa, most likely, Oda Maskim al Das Bezdin. The person would agree with what Bezdin is doing, and therefore Bezdin could step in and warn her. But it could be, truth be told, maybe a man who gives a warning to his wife could take it back. Tashma, come in here. On their way to the Beis Hamikdash, they give her two Talmidei Chachamim to escort the man and the woman to the Beis Hamikdash. Why do they need two people to escort the man? Because we are afraid that he's gonna have a passion for her and he's going to have a relations with her, and that's not permitted. Now, so they have to have two guards, basically, two Talmidei Chachamim guards to guard that he doesn't have relations with her, because it's usher for him. And then if he does have relations, the Saita waters are not going to work. But if you say Baal Shemochal Kinui Kinui Mochal, he can retroactively say, oh, the warning, I'm Mochel on the warning. So he could always have relations with her and sleep with her, because Lechalia Likinuya Velibo. He'll be Mochel the Kinui and he'll do Bia. So you don't need guards to guard that he doesn't sleep with her, because he could just go, I'm Mochel the Kinui, and sleep with her. So what's the guards going to help you? So the Gemara says, Maishna, if that's the case, Maishna Talmidei Chachamim. Why does he have to have two guards who are Talmidei Chachamim? The Gemiri. The answer is, we need guards the Gemiri that know the law. The Iboya Lemivil Amrilei Achlil Kunuya Balit. Then they'll tell him that you have to be Meichel first and do the Bia. So the Gemara originally thought that you don't need, Mechila will not work. Now the Gemara is saying Mechila could work, because if he's Meichel, he could be Meichel. But what's the point of having guards if he could always be Meichel? The guards will tell him, don't just sleep with her. First be Meichel Yakinoi, and then you can be with her. So we still don't know, can a man take back his kinoi, his warning? Tashma, the Amar Rabbi Yoshi said, Shloisha Devarim Slachli Zeir Ma'anshi Yerushalayim. I heard from Zeiru, who was from the remnants of Yerushalayim. Even after the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, you would think that no Jews lived in the Yerushalayim. There's some people that remained. It's like some people still in Germany. So Zeira, he was from the people of Yerushalayim. He said a testimony. Baal shemochel al kinuyai. If the Baal forgives his kinui, his warning, kinu mochel. It works. He can take it away. V'zokin mamre shrotzim bezdin limcholoi moicheloloi. A zokin mamre means a guy who's a rabbi in a town, and he paskins one way. Then he goes to the bezdin by the Beis Hamikdash, the court, the Sanhedrin Hagadol, and asked the same question. And he told them that you paskined wrong. And he goes back to his town and does not listen to what bezdin paskin. He continues with his own psak. So the pasuk says, a zokin mamre gets chenek. Can the bezdin forgive him? So Michael, they can forgive him and let him get away with it. Uben Soira Moira, a boy who's bar mitzvah, who's rebelling against his parents. As the Chumash says, he steals meat, he steals money from his father, buys a certain amount of meat, and drinks wine. And the Torah says that the father and mother bring him to Bezdin, and Bezdin gives him skila. But if the father and mother want to forgive the kid and says, okay, they forgive this delinquent kid, and they will not punish the Saramara by giving him skila. So that's what Zeiri said from the people of Yerushalayim. But when he went to the south, down south from Jerusalem, they agreed with me two things, that the two comments that I said, that Mechila works. But the case of a Zoki Mame, a rebellious rabbi, they didn't agree with me, because they said that Bezdin has no right to be moichel and let a Zoki Mame get away. Because that increases disagreements amongst Klal Yisrael. If you let a rabbi get away to violate and rebel against the great court in Yerushalayim, That this divides the Jewish people. So, but that they didn't agree with me. But the others they did. Shmamino, from here we have a proof. Baal shemochel kinuya mochel shmamino. If a husband wants to take back his warning, but warning can be taken back, no problem. So, but how far? Ligibol Rav Acha Ravina. Rav Acha Ravina had an argument. Chadama koidim stira mochel, that the husband could only take it back before she secluded herself with a man. Once she secluded herself with a man, la'achastira, after she secludes herself with a man, now the next step is soita waters. Ein mochel, he cannot take back the kinoi. The kadoma, so one says la'achastira nami mochel, even after the stira, even after she secluded herself with a man, he could still be mochel. And it makes more sense, like the opinion that says it's not. He can't take it back. Once she was secluded with a man, he can't take it back. Mimai, from how do you know that? Since Rabbi Yosi, from the way Rabbanon responded to Rabbi Yosi, you see that after they secluded with a man, you cannot take back you cannot say moichel the warning. The Tanya we learned in a brayso. Rabbi Yosi says, Bala nemen aleha mikal v'choimam. A husband doesn't need guards to guard as they make their way from their city to Jerusalem to make sure that he doesn't sleep with his wife. We trust the husband. If he walks into the base of Mikdash and says, I didn't sleep with my wife after she's secluded with a man, we believe him. And it's a kal v'choima. Manida, every wife who's a nida, she bekaris. If you sleep with your wife when she's a nida, chas v'sholom, you get karis. Baal nemenala, we trust the husband, he's not going to sleep with his wife. Soita, a lady who's a soita, not sleeping with her, she belav. It's only a lav. Achrei hashehutamo. Loikoshken, certainly we can trust the husband. We're going to trust the husband when the wife is karis, when you're sleeping with her. Koshken will trust him that he's not going to sleep with her when there's only a lav. So why do you need guards at all? Amar loy. So the Chacham said you need guards. Loy. Imamarta benida anida. You don't need guards. Shekain yesh laheter. Eventually, she'll become permitted to him. She'll go to the mikveh. But taima besoita. But his wife is a soita. Maybe she's on her way to the base of Mikdash to get killed. She'ein laheter. He may not have another chance with her, so he's going to violate and sleep with her. That's why you need guards more by the soita than by a regular nida. Now, Rabbi Yosi could have answered back to the Chachamim, if you could say that if he really wanted to have relations with his wife, he could be moichel the kinei, the warning, and therefore, if he moichel the warning, then this woman did not have a warning. She's just secluded with a man. She's not a soita anymore. So mishkachas lo yesh laheta. Then we could find that even a regular soita is not a soita because the iboya mochale lekanuya ibal. From here, you could see that he could be forgive and forget about the kinui and have relations with her. From here, you see From here, you see that after she's secluded already, it's too late. He cannot forgive the kinui. She's an automatic soita. So the Gemara concludes that the only time a husband can retract his warning is as long as she didn't seclude with a man. But if she secluded with a man, it's too late. His warning is effective, and that's it. Now the Mishnah said, Meisu Ba'alei, and the Mishnah said that if the husband died, now and they didn't drink, does she get ksuba or not? So Beis Shammai says she gets ksuba, and Beis Hillel says she does not get ksuba. So the Gemara says, B'mai kami palgi. Why? What's the argument? Why does Beis Shammai says that if a husband dropped dead in the Beis Hamikdash before his wife got a chance to drink, she gets the ksuba? Why? Beis Shammai says, Shtar ha'imig ligvois kigavidon. A star, the ksuba document, which is standing to be collected, we consider it as if she collected it already. So the onus of burden of proof is on the inheritors. Was she a woman who had a real affair with somebody and was usher to her husband? And since they can't prove it, she gets the ksuba. She's considered as if the money was paid to her. She has the chazaka, and they're the ones trying to extract money from her. So they have to prove it. Now we go to Amid Beis. Beis Hillel says, a ksuba, if the woman's holding on to that ksuba document, we don't consider it as if it's only standing to be collected. It's not really collected. And therefore, who's the onus to prove her innocence? It's on her, because the money is in the hands of the inheritors, the Yarshim. And therefore, if she wants to prove she's innocent, she has to figure out a way to prove she's innocent. And because she can't do that, she's no proof, she can't bring proof, therefore she will lose her ksuba. That's why Beis Hillel says she loses her ksuba. One more minute. The Mishnah says, I just want to show you the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, that if a woman is married to an island, it's on your screen. Let's say he's married to a woman that's a woman, immature woman. What's an immature woman? A woman that never developed breasts, never developed hair, and her voice is thick. A very an undeveloped woman. Who's an old woman. So a man who has a woman that drank something, and now she can't give birth. So really, he's supposed to, if he didn't mekayim the mitzvah pure revu, if he doesn't have any children, this is not a good marriage. So we don't want him to remain married to her. So let's say he made her into a saita, loy noitless ksuba, she will not take a ksuba if she was promiscuous. Loy shaisis, she won't drink saita waters because he's not supposed to remain married to her, because how are you going to have children? That's not an appropriate marriage. Rabbi Lezer says she could become a saita. She could become a saita because Yachal hu Lisa Isa Acheres Livreis Mena. He has potential to marry another woman and have children from that other woman. So these islanders and this old lady and someone who can't give birth could still remain his wife. So if they could still remain his wife, then you could be a saita. So now the Gemara just finishes off and says like this. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Abua, Machloikis ba'akara is a kena. The machloikis between the Chachamim, whether an akara, a sickly woman, a woman who got into an accident and now she can't have children, who is a kena or an old lady, then the Chachamim say they don't drink saita waters. Rab Lezer says she could drink saita waters because he can potentially marry somebody else. Avol island is, but a woman who is undeveloped was a woman that never had the ability to have children because she never developed, she never matured. Divrei Hakol, even Rab Lezer would agree, that she can never become a saita, she can never drink the saita waters, and she will not take her ksuba if she was warned and secluded with a man. And he would just get rid of her. Shenema, the nix of it is Razara. The pasuk says that a woman who drinks saita waters will become innocent, and she will have children. So Misha Darkal Azriya, saita waters only work on a woman who could potentially or had the potential to have children. Yatazu, but the islandess is a woman that was never developed. She ain't Darkal Azriya. She can never have children. Unlike an old lady, one time in her life she could have children, or Nakara is a woman who got into an accident, and now because of the accident she can't have children. Are women who had the potential in their lifetime to have children, so they're in the parsha of Saita. But an islandess, everybody agrees, is not in the parsha of Saita waters. Okay, this ends Daf Chaf.